The latest federal stimulus proposal calls for $1,400 payments. And the big news, this payment could include adult children claimed as dependents. And these payments could be in your mailbox or bank account as early as mid to late March. With these new stimulus proposals, we know that you have questions. So we have experts to get you answers. Mark Hensley from AARP, North Carolina Triad Region, Kevin Robinson from Robinson Tax and Accounting, and Scott Braddock with Scott Braddock Financial are our experts today. Here's how you get a question to them. You text your question 336-379-5775. Again, this is text only, so please do not call. We don't have people to be able to answer your questions by phone. We do this by text only. All right, so we are looking at possibly a vote, maybe even late this week, early next week to make this happen. Mark, kind of give me some of the highlights that you think are big in this proposal.
So this is part of a large $1.9 trillion budget proposal, so a T, not a B. And they're inching very close to having a full House vote on Friday. What the good news is, it looks like the income thresholds are not going to change. That's been sort of the debate in Congress. Should this be a lower threshold? But it looks like they're going to stick with, for a single person, adjusted gross income of $75,000 or less would get a full $1,400. So this is a bigger amount. The big news is a dependent of any age would also receive a dependent share. We're still waiting to see what that amount would be.
Okay, so we're going to break that down a little bit more. We know that you'll have questions. We know that you might have questions about taxes as well. Of course, that's where Kevin Robinson comes in. And Kevin, for those people who say, I didn't get stimulus 1 or 2 or parts of it, you say line 30 on the tax return.
Yes, Tanya, that's probably one of the most popular lines on the 2020 tax return. Is known as the recovery rebate credit. And what I'm encouraging my clients to do is, if they did get a stimulus, 1 or 2 or only parts of it, let me know. I can go online and try to find out at least if something was mailed or direct deposited. But if they didn't get it or they didn't get what they should have gotten, hopefully the recovery rebate credit will reconcile. And if there's no payment against a credit, then it's just a credit drops down to line 30 on their return, and it is refundable. So therefore, if they didn't get something during the year and they are eligible, they should get something as a recovery rebate credit, which is really the form of a stimulus on the return.
All right, and Scott Braddock is kind of like straddling between the two lives of stimulus and taxes. Here's a question specifically for you, Scott. If you did a COVID withdrawal from your 401k and it increased your yearly income to over $75,000, which is the threshold for the stimulus, will you still be qualified to get that stimulus check?
So that's right. You know, due to the CARES Act, we were allowed to access 401ks and borrow up to $100,000. And if you were 59 and a half or younger, you avoided the 10% penalty that's traditionally in place there. But this is based on earned income. So we're talking wages, simply W-2, 1099 earned income. So when we take withdrawals from our 401k, that is not earned income. So therefore, it's not going to mess with your overall income threshold to qualify for the stimulus.
Okay, that's good news there. All right, so let's go back to the dependents, because we're getting a few questions about the dependents. Now remember, we're in a proposal stage, so nothing has been voted on yet. But as it stands right now, Mark, this person is asking, how old can the dependents be and receive a stimulus check, which is kind of like a trick answer, because the dependents aren't going to receive the stimulus check. The person who claims them is. They say, we claim my mother who is 74.
Right. So this is a perfect example. They're claiming an adult dependent. Typically, this is a person who's on usually a fixed income like Social Security. This would allow for the family that's claiming her as a dependent, they would receive a payment. And as it's proposed now, and it may change, it would be the same amount, $1,400 for a recipient under the stimulus proposal as an individual or a married couple would get, of course, $2,800, and a dependent would get the exact same amount. We've not seen that before. It's always been a smaller amount. So this is really, really good news for those families that support older adults on fixed income and count them as a dependent.
All right, now this person is asking, if I was a college dependent last year, but now on my own, do I file on my own to get the tax credits?
Well, that's certainly a valid question. I would imagine there's a lot of college students graduated in 2019 and their parents claimed them. So now for 2020, they're on their own. So yes, they should be able to qualify for the recovery rebate credit, all other qualifications being met. So yes, they can. They didn't get the stimulus payment in 19, but there's no reason if they qualify, they shouldn't be able to get it on the 2020 return on line 30, recovery rebate credit.
Okay, so college students, you can apply if you were not a dependent last year in 2020. All right, Scott, this person is asking, if I owe child support, will I get the third round of stimulus payment?
So here's what we know. The first round of stimulus, if you met the qualifications, the only reason that you would not have otherwise received the stimulus is if you owed back child support. So even if you owed back taxes, you still would have been entitled to that first round of stimulus. The second round of stimulus, what they did is they decided to let those that did owe back child support to receive the stimulus as well. So that was unique for that second round of stimulus. And again, we're not talking about owing child support. We're talking about having child support owed in arrears. Now for the third round of stimulus, I have not heard exactly what they're going to do there. I don't know if Mark or Kevin have heard anything on that, but it may be too early for us to know exactly what their decision is going to be.
Yeah, there's lots of details that still need to be hammered out. We are going to take a break, but before we go to break, this is a quick question to be answered. Is the tax deadline still April 15th or has it been pushed back?
Still April 15th, Tanya.
April 15th. So your taxes are due April 15th. The IRS is processing taxes now. They got a little bit of a later start, but they are doing it now. All right, you can continue to text us your questions. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.